Good day, folks. Good day, good day, good day. Here again. I decided I'm going to switch up the pace and talk about something else. So, I actually wanted to do a different show. However, after browsing around, and I said, you know what? There's something that I do want to talk about. And with that being said, I look for something that would aid in my monologue, and I found a family. And as you can see, what the thumbnail says, we are Jews. All right. So I will get into my story. So many of you know that I am not a Christian. And the fact that I'm not a Christian has ruffled a lot of feathers. So let me explain about my journey. So when I was young, very young, I was living between my mother and my grandparents. And I was going to school and I was baptized for the first time. As a young child, I did not really know what was going on. I'm just going along with the flow. So my first baptism and communion was as a Catholic, right? So I was baptized as a Catholic. And that went on for a few years. I go to the church, take the communion, you know how they give you the wine and the bread, and they say the words that goes along with it. And that went on, and I was living with my mother, and my grandmother came and snatched me away, right? But when I was when I was very young, my grandmother snatched me away from my mother, and then my mother came back and got me, and then that happened again. She came back and snatched me and took me away, and I got baptized again when I was living with my grandparents. And my second baptism was as an Anglican, right? And things were very familiar to me because it was kind of like some of the same principles of the Catholic Church, right? Taking the wine and the piece of bread and blood of my body, and all of that stuff that it said. And then that went on for a few years, me living with my grandparents and being an Anglican. And then my mom came and got me back, and I was living with my mom for a while. And then again, I went back living with my grandparents. And by this time, my grandparents switched from being an Anglican to becoming a Baptist. And guess what happened again? I got baptized as a Baptist. Now, in the Baptist faith, in the Baptist denomination, I should say, because it's a part of the same Christianity, right, stemming from the Roman Catholic Church, right? I got baptized as a Baptist. Now, in being a Baptist, they're not really supposed to baptize you when you're young. It was more so as you become an adult and you're absolutely sure that you want to be a Christian and you want to follow the word of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. However, I was too young to make that decision, but it was made for me, and I was asked, are you sure you want to follow Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And as a child, I'm prompted to say yes and go along with it because, I want to, as most children do, want to make sure that they impress their elderlies and kind of set a good example for their siblings or their cousins, their younger folks, the younger folks in their family. So, of course, I went along and I got baptized as a Baptist. And that went on for a few years. And then my parents left, moved away, and had to be left with my grandparents. And so at that point, here goes again. My grandparents, my grandma primarily, stopped going to church. And so I was left to go to church on my own. And sometimes I would go with my aunt, and she didn't live too far away, right? And one day I was outside hanging out, and a lady walked up, and she started having a conversation with me. And I was quite curious. I think I was like maybe like 11. I was quite curious. And she said, "Can I give you a pamphlet?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll take the pamphlet." And she said, "Can I come and talk to you?" And I went to my grandmother and my auntie and I said, "This lady wanted to talk to me about her religion." And so they came out and it was like, "Oh, it's fine." And I sat down with her and I was introduced to Jehovah's Witness, right? So I wasn't really going to the Baptist church as much anymore. And so I sat down, and the stories that she was telling was so convincing. And the artwork in those pamphlets was so colorful and beautiful. Seeing the sheeps and the dove, it, it was just so amazingly beautiful. And that impressed upon me as a child. And I wanted to be a part of it. So I was willing to do what I needed to do to be a part of it. And my grandparents didn't have a really big deal with it. It was a woman in the neighborhood that they all knew, and they all liked, and they break bread together and they share food together. So it was no big deal. So I started going to church with her. Um, well, in Kingdom Hall, in Jehovah's Witness. I started going to the Kingdom Hall with her. And about a few weeks in, guess what? I was so impressed with what was going on that they start talking about being baptized, coming up and giving your confession. So I would go up and give confession. Now I'm a child. So whatever thoughts came to my mind, I was talking about I don't even remember some of the things I was talking about, right? However, I decided that I wanted to get baptized. And I wasn't deterred from getting baptized. They were like, "Hey, it's another soul coming to Jesus Christ, right? Coming to Jehovah." And so I got baptized. And that went on for a while. And the lady that brought me to the Jehovah's Witness community, I think she passed away. And so I was left just in limbo, nowhere to go. So some time passed, and I was out playing, and a few friends in the neighborhood, they were going every Saturday, they would disappear. I'm like, "Where did you guys go?" And they were like, "Oh, we went to church." So I believe I decided I wanted to go because that felt like the thing to do. All of my friends, they were going to church. And my cousins and other family members, they were still going to different churches. They were going to Baptist church, and However, my friends, they were going to the Seventh-day Adventist church. So I wanted to go. So I went, and I was there for a while because, of course, like I said, the lady that introduced me to the Jehovah's Witness, she passed on. And I started going to the Seventh-day Adventist church. And it was several months. By this time, I was about 12 years old, I believe. And so they were going up and talking, giving their confession. And guess what I did? I went up and gave my confession too. And before long, I was baptized as a Seventh-day Adventist, right? So, with that being said, now I've been baptized multiple times, right? I've got baptized multiple times. And it was just amazing how that baptism stuck with me for a while. And and because it stuck with me for a while, I was a bit I was a bit amazed at what was going on, right? The feeling that came came from it, right? And I was just blown away. Now, give me a second, guys. So I was blown away by being a Seventh-day Adventist. And I had to leave. I had to leave. Some family issues went on, and I had to leave the family. I had to leave my grandparents and uh, go and live with my parents, right? So, with that being said, I'm now living with my parents, and I'm going to school, and one day I met this young lady. By this time now I was 14. I was 15. I think I was a 15. So I was going to school and I was smitten by this young lady. And I wanted to find out more. Like, she's so beautiful. I want to go, I want to see who she's around. So I decided I'm going to talk to her. And when I talked to her, she said she wants to introduce me to her parents. And I'm like, oh boy, she wants to introduce me to her parents. So when I got introduced to the parents, they took me, they was like, oh, you got to come to church with me. Actually, the Kingdom Hall with me, right? So I ended up going to the Kingdom Hall, and they asked me if I knew anything about Jehovah's Witness, and I told them, yeah, I was a Jehovah's Witness once. They said, yeah, really? Uh, so you're not Jehovah's Witness anymore? And I'm like, actually, the last time I've been in church, it was in the Seventh-day Adventist. So I'm now a Seventh-day Adventist. I said, really? You're a Seventh-day Adventist? Well, if you want to be a part of what we're doing here, you have to become a you have to become a part of what we're doing. And henceforth, guess what? I got baptized again. Right? I got baptized again. So now we're on the sixth time, right? And that went on from the time I was like 14, 15 to like I was 16, almost 17. So I left that church because the family that I used to go with, I don't remember exactly what happened, but something went awry with them, and the father and mother, I think they must have broken up or something like that. So now I was left in limbo again. So in the neighborhood I was living in, there was a woman that wasn't living too far. I don't exactly remember her name, but I remember what she looks like. All right, still remember the color of her skin. And we were having a conversation one day, and she was like, "Hey, you're a nice young man. You should come to church with me." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I told my mom I wanted to go to church, and I was introduced to their community, the Seventh-day Adventists again. And when I was going, she had to stop and pick up a young lady. And here I go again. She was attractive and I liked her. And we just clicked it. We just clicked. We gelled. And that gave me more reason why I wanted to go to church. So I went to church every single Saturday, right? Until somewhere close to I was about 17, and the preacher, the pastor, he was preaching about can't wear any jewelry, can't adorn yourself in anything because God don't approve of those things. And so I remember when I was 16, my mom had gave me a nice chain and a pendant. And what I did with it, I pawned it because the preacher said, get rid of it. We don't need that. You don't need that. All God need is you and who you are. Don't need you to adorn yourself with anything. So with that being said, here it goes. I got rid of it. Now, one day, a few weeks later, we were in the food hall, quite a big size food hall. Every Saturday, food will be prepared after the church is done, all right? The ceremony is done. And I went in there, and the preacher was in there with his wife. So I looked at him, and I was like, hi, how you doing? I shook his hand. He's like, hi, young man, how you doing? So when he shook my hand, I saw a watch in his hand, a gold watch in his hand. And I said, Pastor, may I ask you a question? And he said, sure, you may ask the question. And I said, how is it that you said that we can't wear any jewelry, we can't adorn ourselves with any jewelry, right? And I pawned my chain that my mom gave me for my birthday. And here you are wearing a gold watch, a Rolex at that. And he was like, what do you know about Rolex? I said, my father's a jeweler. I can look at what you're wearing and I can tell you how many carats you're wearing, right? And that Rolex that you have on your hand is a 18 carat Rolex watch, right? Bezeled out, nice watch. And he also had a necktie pin that pins to his shirt. So I said, and you have a 14 carat gold tie pin on your tie, and your shirt have the part, the thing that you used to close the shirt, I forgot what it's called, right? So said, everything on you is all gold, but you told us we can't wear any jewelry. So his wife came over and she was like, who is this young man? Who are you? Who's your sponsor? And so the lady walked over, right? Let's call her Miss Carol. Miss Carol walked over and she says, hey, Garth, you can't do that. Like, why not? Why can't I ask a question? Right? You don't do that. That's the pastor. Right? So I said, since I can't ask any questions, the pastor told us what we shouldn't do and he's doing contrary to what he says. That was it for me. And she could not get me to come back to church. Not at all. I didn't want to go because I found it to be a contradiction. And years passed and I started going to church again. And I got deep into it. But this time I wasn't going to any Jehovah's Witness church, Kingdom Hall, any Catholic church. I was going to a church where it's multi-denominations. And I felt good there, right? Multi-denominations. I felt good there. So I was there for a while, right? I was going with a then good friend of mine, and I was really into it. Reading the Bible, learning, I was really into it. But then I start asking questions again. By this time, I was, I think I was at 29, right? I was really asking questions. However, I was told I can't ask questions. Who are you to be asking questions? So when they would say certain things, I would read it. And then based on what I was taught, it was a contradiction to me. So then my journey started. My journey of absolute journey of trying to find out exactly why I'm told one thing, and then when I read in the Bible, it says something else. And so I started my journey on, okay, I need to spend time to read the Bible from front to back. So I spent 3 years. I read the Old Testament, the New Testament, and a newer version. And there was so much contradiction in it, right? And don't get me wrong, during that time, there were tears. I cried because I was like, man, so much. Can some of this be true? Right? And I'm pondering, like, is this satire? Is this made up? Any of this true? And I kept on with my journey. And it took me 3 years. 3 years to read the Bible from front to back. Why? Because each time I read a chapter, I would read it a second time. And I would do that on and on and on until I was complete with the Bible for 1 year. Now, let me say this. When I was younger, I saw a massive book, massive Bible with so many books in there. And so when I was reading this newer Old Testament, right, a lot of those, quite a bit of those books were in it. However, when I started reading the New Testament, half of those books were gone. And then when I started reading the newer version, more of those books were gone. Or the words or scriptures were slightly altered or changed. And I said, something is off here. Something is off, right? And I started a journey of trying to purge myself of religion, of Christianity. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be a Christian anymore. I don't. And so I pondered on becoming a Muslim. And then the person that I knew that was Muslim, we had a conversation, and he said he's going to show me the way of Islam. And I started learning, and he was teaching me. But several months into it, maybe about 6 months, 8 months, close to a year, there were just certain things I was just not feeling, that was not resonating with me. So here we go again. I walked away from Christianity because of the mass contradiction, the things I learned, the things that the Bible says not to do, but yet I see people doing it. And in Islam, there were certain things. Islam was a bit more absolute. However, there were there were just certain things that just not resonating with me. So I walked away from that. And I decided I'm going to think about becoming, or I wanted to become a Jew. And so I start asking questions. And while the difference with Judaism, Islam, and Christianity I noticed that there was a stark difference. In Christianity, I was told I can't ask questions. In Islam, I could ask questions, but I have to be careful how I frame those questions. In Judaism, I could ask those questions and I would get an answer, right? However, I did not become a Jew, right? When I start asking the question and say, I'm positive I want to become a Jew. I want to convert. I had a very good friend for many, many years, still till this day. And he says, Garth, Judaism is very strict. It's very strict. And multiple times a day, you may have to pray. You're going to have to pray, right? And I was like, I'm good with that. I don't mind, because if I'm going to follow a belief system, I'm going to follow it fully, right? It was like, if I could do it all over and I didn't have a choice, I did have a choice, I wouldn't be a Jew, right? I was like, oh, okay, that's you, right? But it was like, I was born into the religion, I'm going to die into the religion, right? And so, with that being said, I did not become a Jew. I did not ponder and becoming a part of any other religious systems. And I'd vowed to myself and I said, you know what? When I go anywhere, if there are Christians there, because I'm not a Christian, I don't feel bogged down. If I'm not a Muslim, I don't feel bogged down. If I'm not a Jew, I don't feel bogged down, or any other religion. I could walk through the room and flow through the room without any reservation and any biases, because I don't belong to any of these groups. I am free from it. Now, that being said, once people realized I was very determined that I was not going to be a part of their religious system, primarily Christianity, I was lambasted. I was called names. I was ostracized in some cases. I was accosted in some cases. Disrespected in some cases. I was called an atheist, a devil worshiper, right? By people that were close to me. Even when I have any thoughts about Christianity or having a conversation and use a reference from the Bible, I was told, you can't use any reference about the Bible. You don't believe in my Jesus, in my God. That's my God. I'm like, God don't belong to you. And primarily, you should understand that you're worshiping Jesus, but Jesus is not God. In the Bible, Jesus says that. So I don't understand, if I was a Christian and I know the Bible, understand the words of the Bible, right, that I can reference it in certain conversations. So I'm constantly shut down with people that I've known for a very long time, very good friends. As soon as I open my mouth and I'm going to reference anything to do with the Bible, I'm not supposed to, because I don't believe in Jesus Christ. And I found that to be downright ridiculous, right? So it's rather frustrating, right? I know this monologue is long, but it's rather frustrating when I'm trying to talk with someone and I can't finish my thought because I'm constantly cut off once I mention anything regarding the Bible. Now, with me saying that I don't want to be a part of any religion, understand there are multiple types of religion, right? The Christians use the Bible, right? Islam is the Quran. Vedas is Hindu. Talmud is Judaism. Tripitaka is Buddhism, right? So let me repeat that again. You have Christianity, the Bible. You have Islam, the Quran. You have Hinduism, Vedas. You have Judaism, Talmud, and you have Buddhism, Tripitaka, right? And there are many more. Of course, there are tons of religions across the world. But I decided that I will not be a part of any one of them anymore, right? Now, does that mean that I'm kind of ostracized in some sense because I don't belong to any religion or any belief system? I'm just a free bird flowing out there? Absolutely. Absolutely so. And do I have to deal with the downside of not being a part? Absolutely so. However, in my observation, religion has caused some of the most vile things to happen over history. Religious conquest, right, have caused lives across the world. Like, you follow what I say or you get unalive, you die, right? So think about when Christianity was being spread across the world. How many people were unalived because they refused to convert, right? Now, what I like about Judaism is that you're essentially born into the religion, right? And it's treated like a race, right? You can convert from anything into Christianity or Islam. You can also convert into Judaism, right? That step takes much more time, right? But I find that when you are of a certain belief system that have certain principles, you tend to follow those principles the best way you can. And not all Christians are bad. No. Not all Jews are bad. No. Not all Muslims are bad, or Buddhas, or any other religion. There are good people in these religions, and there are bad people in these religions, right? So understand that we're human beings, and we're not void of any goodness or badness. And anyone at any time can become bad because we are emotional creatures. And if we don't know how to handle our emotions, we tend to react on those emotions. And sometimes we do very vile things because of those emotions. So religion is kind of set in place to help people to be more civil, right? This is why we live in a civilization, so we can be civil. And religion helps us to be civil. So by no means I'm saying that religion is bad. What I'm saying is that people tend to do the best that they can where they are. And for those folks, because I'll be honest, I know some very good people that are Christians, right? And I know some good people that are Jews, and good people that are Muslims, right? And I know, and I've seen very bad actors in all three of those religions, right? There's the religion from Nigeria, Yoruba. I've seen good people from that, and I've seen bad people from that, bad actors and good actors, right? So understand that Everywhere, anywhere, across the world, there will be good people and there will be bad people. And unfortunately, some of these bad people are in some of these religions that are supposed to, they purport to be good for the vast majority, right? But they are not necessarily good actors throughout the entire belief system, right? So I was intending to do something different today, but something came over me and it steered me in a direction to have this monologue as to now I'm going to play a video, as you can see from the thumbnail, of a family that converted from Christianity, and you'll hear their story, to Judaism, right? And they moved from California to Israel, right? So they went from Detroit to California, actually, to Aliyah, Israel. That's where they currently reside right now. So with that being said, I'm going to bring the video over and press play so you can actually watch the video, right? So here we go. And you guys can
How's everybody doing? Okay, that was good. That was good. Let's do it one more time. How's everybody doing?
Good day, folks. Good day, good day, good day.
Listen,
Here again.
We like the energy. We like the vibe. We got to give it to us, right? So
pace
we're very honored to be here. As she said,
talk about something else.
we have a lot of time, so we have a lot to share. We're going to try to pack in as much as we can in 20 minutes. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Our whole conversion and journey in 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then afterwards, I'm going to take the fellas and we're going to dance for a little bit, right? If you're cool with that. And then my wife, she's going to go talk about Znut and
modesty and how
all that
beautiful
good
it
stuff.
is.
Okay, cool. So we are the HART family. So Kiva Nachman is like my second name. Our family name, our last name is HART. So that's where the House of Lev comes from. And so House of Lev, that's what we go by on the internet. And I guess what is it about? Because I know not everybody's on the internet. Some people don't know the story. And I guess if I can just maybe brief it for just a quick second. We weren't born Jewish. So we started our lives together as a married couple, in Christianity. And so that was kind of where we started, and then now we are a full-fledged Jewish family now. And it's been a journey. It's been about a good 5 years or so journey.
No, it's been longer.
Longer. Okay, it's been longer. But it feels like a lifetime though. And I guess I want to preface it by just kind of asking ourselves is, how did we get here? And it really all started with questions. It started with asking questions. And why is that significant? Well, we're approaching Pesach. And Pesach, if you really think about it, is built on questions. Ma nishtana, right? The whole thing is built around asking questions. And when you ask questions, it prompts you to be able to go search out for answers. And the only way to really advance in anything in life is to be able to ask. You never want to go into anything blindly. You never want to just do anything. You want to be able to ask. So we started by asking ourselves, why do we believe what we believe? It's a good question, right? Why do we believe what we believe? And that was the start of our Mitzrayim, our exodus from Mitzrayim to now to freedom, what we think. Being now living a Jewish life, for us, it's freedom for us. And it started by asking questions.
Yeah, to briefly go into that, because I was not raised Christian like my husband was. So for me, it was the question part. I had lots of questions, and I think that's where a lot of even his curiosity and growth. I mean, he was always asking, but in Christianity, you don't really ask questions. And I think for me, that was like my frustration. I'm like, how am I supposed to believe something if I can't ask about it, or I don't know why I'm believing this? And so that was like a challenge for us. And I think it was the smartest thing, you know, for us to be able to ask these particular questions. And from there, when we weren't getting the answers, obviously our curiosity grew to want to grow and to learn more about why we believe it.
Yeah, and so basically, as we started asking questions, we started not getting answers. And so in our form of religion, there's not really a lot of good, solid foundation. Things are just kind of all over the place. And the basis of it was just, you just believe. And that was it. There was no structure, nothing like that. It was just, you just believe, and you can have, you can reach this level of I guess, high levels of spirituality. And that wasn't enough for us. For us, we wanted structure. We wanted a way to be able to connect to God. That's what we were ultimately looking for, is how do I connect to this God? For me, I grew up as a Christian. So spirituality was something that was kind of embedded within me.
Yeah, I didn't grow up, like I just said, like I didn't grow up with that spirituality of I guess, you know, being in a church in particular. But my mom, I did see her pray every single day. And I think that is something that stood out to me. And there was obviously curiosity there, but it was not this understanding of, okay, who is God? And like, why do I believe all this? Obviously, I believed there was a higher power and there was a God. But like he said, it wasn't until I met my husband that I went down the whole Christianity route.
Yeah. And so we started searching, and we came across, you know,
2014, it was like when we started like really asking questions and then like searching and digging deeper for our belief system of why we believed it.
Yeah. And so in that, you know, you go, one of the first rabbis that you meet on that journey is Rabbi Google, right? You meet Rabbi Google, you start asking a whole bunch of questions to Rabbi Google, you know? And, you know, so we're typing in things, you know, what is spirituality? You know, what is Christianity? You know, like what is the next move in our lives? So I get this phone call, and this is a very, very long story, but I get this phone call. Nothing is random. Everything is what you call hashgacha pratit, right? It's just divine providence. Hashem is always working things out, putting things in the right place. I get a call from a cousin of mine, and he says, hey, listen, I believe that the quote-unquote real children of Israel are the African Americans that were brought from West Africa over to the Americas via the transatlantic slave trade. That was where everything started for me. So I said, listen, that sounds crazy. I don't know where you're getting this from. This is wild. What does this even mean? He started sending me videos of these very, very aggressive gentlemen. And they were calling themselves the Hebrew Israelites. And now it's a very, very gigantic group, many different sections within this group. Some are very, very loving and kind. There are a lot of them who are very, very aggressive and very, very mean, very militant. The videos that were sent to me were these aggressive videos, and they were standing on the street corners yelling at people and saying that they're wrong, saying that they're going to go to hell, they're going to burn, and all these things. Their claim was that the European Jews stole their identity and took the Torah from them. And so now they're on this whole mission to go reclaim it again. And so everybody that does not look like them is basically a devil. Right? Wild story, right? Now I can unpack that, but that'll take another situation. Right? But that's where it started for me. It started for me right there. And I took some of that information, we started researching, what is this emphasis on the Torah?
That was what we were like, really, like, okay, what is this? What is Torah? What does that mean? And that's when like a lot of our curiosity, I mean, a lot of what the Hebrew Israelites, what they were doing, we just didn't resonate. Like I didn't feel Hashem in that. I was like, this can't be right. So that wasn't even like a period of like, oh, we're going down that route. It was just the curiosity of what they took, some of the concepts, and we were like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Let's dive a little deeper.
Yeah, and so what did we do again? I talked about the basis of everything is being able to ask questions. I said, okay, what does all of this mean? What is the Torah? What is Judaism? So what we did was we said, you know what, let's start researching the people that they don't like. And that was Orthodox Jews. That was Jews, right? That was all of you guys, right? It was the Jewish people. For some reason, they don't like the Jewish people. They feel that the Jewish people stole something from them, right? So we looked up. We were researching. Okay, who are the Jewish people? We had no idea. We would hear certain things here and there, and so this whole world opened up. Judaism, this Torah, it just opened up. Said, "Wow, it's beautiful. This is a whole beautiful thing." What we really loved was the fact that there was a structure, and these Jews were able to connect with the Creator of the universe. And it was for us, we were reading like this was the most special group of people in the world. That the Creator of the universe has a group of people that's like the apple of His eye. That was so amazing to us. It was the most amazing thing. And so then for us, we started researching more. What is this thing called Shabbat? What is this thing called kosher? And all these different things. And our minds were blown, especially when we found out that there was a whole day where people didn't do work and they relaxed and spent time with their family and they prayed and just had a chill day. That was amazing to us. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And
so obviously with the whole like the Hebrew Israelites, so that we were curious. We were like, okay, is there other Jewish people that look like us?
Right.
Is there Orthodox Jews that look like us? And so of course, Rabbi Google, here we are, Black Orthodox Jews, and guess who comes up? Nissan Black. Exactly. So here's Nissan Black, and we're like, okay, so we got to hear his story and just to hear about his family and then conversion. We had no idea you can even convert to Judaism. Right. So that was like a whole other thing of once we discovered Nissan Black and his family and their story, we were like, oh, we're doing this. Like, we're converting. Like, we wanted to keep Shabbat. And so at that point, we were actually like kind of living as Noahites, the Noahide laws, and we were just basically like, okay, well, we can actually keep Shabbat and convert and go all the way. And the beautiful thing, a lot of people ask, our son is here, and we're just so proud of our We're so proud of our kids, because a lot of people always ask. We have 6 kids, but they were our 2, our 17-year-old and Batzalel, who's 15. Everybody's always asking, they're like, did they really want this for themselves? And we're like, of course. The Beit Din wouldn't even, they wouldn't have converted us if they didn't want it. So, but we're really proud of them because they wanted this. And I think the biggest thing that we made sure is our kids is that they asked questions.
Yeah.
We didn't just tell them we're doing this. It's asking questions, educating them, seeing did they want to go on this journey for themselves. Even in Christianity, they were always like curious as well with stuff. They will ask us questions and we'll go, I can't answer that. And they're like, okay. So with Judaism, when there was questions that they had and they started seeing that we can actually answer a lot of their questions, they're like, this makes sense. And we're like, exactly. Like, so just to see, their growth and their journey to go from one way of life into this and to see how beautiful that transition and who they are today, it's amazing. I'm so proud of them. We actually made Aliyah because of our 2 older kids. So, our daughter, who's a junior now, and he's in his 10th grade year, the fact in the middle of high school they wanted to make Aliyah, I think is like so inspiring and just mind-blowing, and we're so proud of them. Very, very proud.
Yeah, very proud. So I guess kind of to get ready to wrap it up, how many minutes we have?
5.
I think I have 2 questions now.
Okay. So we went through a conversion process. That process was about 2.5 years long. It was amazing. We learned a lot. It was a lot of studying, a lot of learning, and we finished. We finished in November of 2023, and immediately we knew that we said, okay, we need to move to Israel. We need to move to Israel also, and we did it. So we knew that once our process was over, we started making plans, to make it happen. The first organization that we even thought about was Nefesh B'Nefesh, and we're forever grateful for Nefesh B'Nefesh. I don't know how people can make Aliyah without them, and Nefesh B'Nefesh is doing something monumental to be able to help the Jewish people from all over the world get back to Eretz HaKodesh, right? And I think it's beautiful because everything again is Hashgacha Pratit, right? The name of this room is Geula. right? And so one of the one of the major things that I believe that Nefesh B'Nefesh is doing is ushering in Geula 100% by bringing everybody back to the land of Israel. And we're so grateful. Again, the story continues. Maybe we have to come back and do a whole other thing. Obviously, there's a lot of missing pieces
There's
and
a
parts,
lot of missing parts.
right? But the journey, we're so happy. We're so happy to be reconnected back to our people. We believe that our souls were always Jewish, but Hashem just decided to put us in a non-Jewish family for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, and to be able to reignite that spark again and to make our way back to reconnect to all of you guys.
Yeah.
And so
I've always done this, so that Jewishness, it's always been in me.
Right. So we'll, if it's okay, we'll do a couple questions and then we'll switch it off. Cool.
How is your fellow so cool?
How is he so cool? It's his hat.
Yeah.
Also when he's not wearing it.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, the hat doesn't define my son.
Right.
Do you have family support, like parents and your cousin? What was that?
Yeah, it's a funny story. His cousin didn't even like further go into like Judaism or anything. He didn't convert or look into it even more. We do have some supportive family, but like a lot of our immediate family is not that supportive. So his brother is the best. So it's his brother, his grandmother. They're amazing.
Yeah, a lot. We've lost a lot of family members.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people disowned us and decided not to continue our relationship anymore. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
I would say it's even harder for our kids because it's like they, holidays like this, Pesach, where everybody's coming together and Seder's and this, and they're like, we don't have that. But we always have to keep in mind and letting them know, like, we're starting that tree. And we talk about the future, like what it's going to be like, and your siblings having kids, and you guys getting married, and the beauty of that, and that's all going to be shifting, because Rav Hashem, that changes and that grows. So.
I said,
I was just curious. How religious were your parents as Christians?
Very.
my dad and his side of the family were very religious. Did church multiple times a week. Yeah, very much religious. And it was something that was really instilled in us. And I think that's also why Judaism was so intriguing for us, because in Christianity, I've always been like a deep person, but in Christianity it's shallow. You can't get deep. So taking that same type of mentality and swimming in the waters of Torah, it's endless, right? And I believe that's why it's been like it's such the most beautiful thing, to be able, because there's answers in the Torah for things, so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Israel before you converted, and then as the process came, did your views change at all?
We've always loved. It's a funny story. My husband, before even Judaism, he came to Israel because he was a professional dancer, and so he toured with the major artists, and one of his spots were here. And even during that time, I remember so much. He came back from the tour, and he goes, "The most impactful place that I came to was Israel." And he went to Jerusalem, everything during that time. He even got a Jerusalem tattoo. This is before anything of Judaism. That was way before Judaism.
Was 2008. I wanted to take something back with me, back to America, and because I was so impactful, I said I gotta have something to Israel. So I went to the tattoo shop in Tel Aviv somewhere, and I was like, I want Jerusalem on my arm. And so they put Jerusalem, and then I feel like this has just been like a marker.
But you have to tell the story, what somebody told you about the right hand of that. I think that was
right. Well, I don't know it in Hebrew, right? But there's something that says if my right hand forgets Jerusalem, and it's on my right hand, Jerusalem, right? So it's, I don't know. I had no idea about that. What's the plan? Yeah. So.
Go ahead.
Anyway.
Where were you guys before? Where did you live before?
Oh, yeah. We were in Orange County, California. So a place called Irvine.
Where do you guys live now?
Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Did you guys have any moment from when you started the conversion process, from when you started like researching, where you were like, wait, maybe this isn't the right way? Like maybe this, like, did you guys question it all? Like you knew?
No, it was like a light bulb went off when we saw it, and it was like our neshama gravitated to it so much that we could not deny it. I was like, there's so much truth in this that I'm like, there's no way that we're going to go backwards or anything. No question. Even through our process, no questioning. The war came. People were like, you still want to make Aliyah? You still want to convert? The Beit Din was like, are you sure you want to convert still? We're like, even more, because then our neshama, like our prayers are going to like count. So we want to help, bring whatever that we need to, for the Jewish people. So nothing like hindered us.
Yeah, and I also think that's also part of the life of someone who converts,
Yeah.
right? Like you're put in a non-Jewish body, and then it's like you grow up in whatever religious belief or whatever. The moment that you hear the Torah, and it's a light bulb, right? That spark that's on the inside of it, it gets reunited, it gets reignited again, and then so it's like there's no questions. It's like, this is what I want. This is it, Yeah.
Got a question. You said there's a lot of gaps in your story. Is there some book or place or video online, something that you hear to get the rest of that?
Yeah. So there's House of Lev on Instagram, YouTube, and so we actually documented like our whole entire journey. So it's there. So House of Lev, LEV, on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the whole thing. Yeah.
So you mentioned Shabbat as something that was like so amazing, especially coming from the outside.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us are immersed in Judaism, and the aspects of it that we don't even realize how amazing they are because we're just used to them.
Yeah.
Do you have any more examples of something that you've met and you're just like, why doesn't the whole world do this? Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, having specific foods that you eat. It's like that's amazing, right? And just understanding that it's not just food. There's holiness inside, like in the food, because it comes from the Creator. Hashem, the Creator of the universe, said, okay, these are the type of food that this people eat. That's crazy when you think about it. You know what I mean? And so it's being able to dive in, to be able to pray and have these times throughout the day where you connect. There's so many things.
And you really feel the differences too, because when we think back before we converted to how we feel now, like there was a difference. When I lit the Shabbat candles, being Jewish, I literally was sobbing. I could feel that peace and that calmness that comes in that I was like yearning to feel, and I finally felt it, and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to feel. And even now, every like Shabbat when I light, like I can feel, I never could feel that before. And even to the food does taste different. Like it tastes like,
we know.
I remember before we were like Jewish, like we'll go to somebody's house and it'll be like the simple salad, but I'm like, why is the salad so elevated and tastes so amazing? And if I make the salad simple, mine doesn't taste like that. Mine wouldn't taste like that.
Yeah. We went over to a friend's house when we were going through the process, right? We got invited for Shabbat dinner, and they made the most simple salad. It was just lettuce.
And we were like, why is this so
It was amazing. And then we go home and like,
I try to do it.
Let me cut up some lettuce. And we eat it, and it's like, this is lettuce.
It's even a difference from a Jew making it versus a non-Jew making it even for you. Like it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite food now?
A favorite food? Her challah.
Yeah. I love making challah. It's like, it's so special to me, and I think that doing that, it's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. I love to eat it.
In the back.
How did you guys decide to document your journey?
Good question. She asked, why did we decide to document our journey? So at the beginning of our journey, we were searching, right? Remember, we going on Google. We end up connecting with a lot of different people and asking questions. But it was important for us to be able to have some type of community or people to reach out to be able to ask questions. It was a new journey. It was brand new for us. And there were no families, no like full families online, a husband and wife online that we could really, really connect with and to be able to ask questions. And so at that time, there were maybe one or two, but
there was no couples that were documenting their journey, or even people who were just born Jewish, like there was a few, but nobody who like converted documented as a couple. And so we were like, let's do this. And even to the point, like, because we hesitated to do, I don't know if you guys know Moses and Zipporah, heard of Moses and Zipporah? Okay, so they, Zipporah had reached out to us, and she like thought we were like Jewish already, and she was like, and so we ended up telling her, we're going through the conversion process, and she goes, wait a minute, you guys are going through, she's like, why aren't you documenting that? She's like, why aren't you sharing that now? And we were hesitant because we didn't know what the Beit Din was gonna think. You know, it's very sensitive while you're going through that process. You just don't want to mess things up. And so then we ended up sharing that with our rabbi, and then the Beit Din, they loved it. We were doing like TikToks for Aish, and they were so curious. They're like, so how long does it take you to do those videos? And we're sitting here, we're like, okay, they're happy with it. So so it was cool. So we got to continue to just keep doing that, and that's what made us just move forward with it.
So I know you mentioned that you're very connected to Nachman.
Yeah.
Certain Torah that you more.
Wow. Yeah. So Rabbi Nachman, his teaching has totally changed my life. So I was so grateful to find his teachings at the very beginning. You know, when we were still learning about Judaism, and what I really loved about Rabbi Nachman was he was able to take these gigantic, beautiful, lofty concepts, but to bring it down to earth and to make it very, very easy to understand. You know, and it was like he has this way to be able to connect to anybody, no matter what level they're holding. And I think maybe my favorite thing is he Bodadus. My favorite teaching is just the concept of being able to take time to seclude yourself to talk to God, right? And it's the most incredible thing, right? And that practice has totally transformed my life. It transformed my life on every single level. I'll tell you this: I seen another room called Bitachon, right? And I love that, by the way. There's another room, Amuna. That's her other name, Amuna. So amazing. I love it. So I'll tell you this: when it comes to trust and reliance on Hashem, how can you trust someone that you don't know? You can't. How can you trust somebody that you don't know? If me and my wife don't trust each other, we have no relationship.
100%.
Right? Same thing with Hashem. If we never talk, if we never spend any time with Hashem, how can we grow together? How can we build a relationship? Right? And that's what He did for me. It allowed me to really build a deep relationship with the Creator of the universe. And that gave me so much trust. And it's easy. The more that I talk to God, the easier it is for me to rely on Him, because I trust Him. Right? So that's what. Many more lessons too. Right?
The fact of how genuine you are, really, like, it's something that everyone in this room feels. So thank you for coming out today as a family. That means so much to us. Our theme today is actually Netzach Israel, which means really it is the infinite of the Jewish people, which we see you as. And of course, all souls were at Har Sinai, converts as well. And I know sometimes that's hard for others to see. How was you through this long and incredible journey that you're still on? Do you feel that you've been accepted as converts amongst the Jewish people? How's that journey been for you, and how do you feel that that's going? And what can we do better? It's kind of a funny one. It's a royal we, and it's also not. Both sides.
Beautiful question. Wow, beautiful question.
Amazing question.
Yeah. I think for us, we were so blessed because we had lots of love. Like we feel that we were fully accepted, just from day one. And just with the love, the support, and even in America, our community that we went through our process in, it was just the best community we could have started in for our family. Nobody ever questioned us. Nobody ever drilled us about our background. Nobody asked us if, are you Jewish, or that whole thing. They just accepted us, and it was beautiful. And I would say, that's been the whole thing of the entire journey. For us, we've also developed the mindset of this: we're not converts. We converted to Judaism that made us Jewish, right? And so, that was something that really, really helped us, because a lot of people that go through a conversion, a lot of times they struggle so much more. First of all, the journey is not easy. It's a very, very tough journey to convert on multiple different levels. But one of the mistakes I think that that they make are hanging on to the title that I am a convert. And what that does, right, yes, you converted, of course, right? But what that does, I believe, psychologically, it separates you. It creates a separation from who you are, right? Chazal teaches that the moment that somebody converts, he's 100% Jew. There's no difference, right? It's 100% Jew. And so people that hold on to the idea that I'm a convert, it separates them and it stops them from being able to fully connect and latch on
to their identity,
to their identity and to their heritage and to all you beautiful people, right? And I believe like that's what we need. We just need more of, first of all, people that go through the process to really understand that, and also for people who are maybe born Jewish and you've grown up with this to also understand that as well. That when you see people that come from the other side, right? They're no different than you. They're no different than you, right? And the support, right? Support them, help them understand that the journey is not easy at all. Some of them may not have any community, no family, no nothing, right? So it's important to continue to embrace them and to love them, as your own people, and that's what made us so happy and so grateful on this journey, because we had people who really understood and they accepted us as somebody that's the same as them.
All right, so I can say what I like about Judaism, and I noticed the similarity with Islam as well, but this is about Judaism right now. I like how, rephrase that. I love how the women are conservative in their attire. Primarily, I'm not saying 100% of them are, because of course we have those ones that are living in modernity and they have this feminist mindset and they dressed accordingly to those mindsets, right? What I truly like about how conservative their attire is that they cover up everything. Because why? Their person, their adornment, their hair, their body is left for the eyes of her husband, right? They don't show everything. They leave things to the imagination, which is a beautiful thing, right? Long gone are those days when women were more conservative and things were left to the imagination, right? They're covered up. You look at them and you admire what you see and you go have a conversation. Now in modern times, it's not like that. So I just wanted to add that note in there. But I can say this, right? Why I converted from Christianity was because of the hypocrisy that I saw in it, that I experienced in it. They say one thing and do something else. Not all, but a large majority of them do that, right? And for me, being so rigid, I am going to follow what the teachings are, and I'm going to want to live up to what those teachings are. And why? I don't see me moving forward in that direction. And trust me, people have tried to get me to revert back into Christianity, right? Different tactics have been used, but I'm steadfast. I'm not going to be a part of Christianity anymore, right? I love people that are Christians, right? But there are some that I just can't stand, right? And this is no shade on Christianity, right? I'm just saying, from my observation of being on this earth for a couple hundred years, I like to say things like that, right? for a very long time, I noticed that there is a looseness in Christianity that's not so much in Islam or Judaism, right? And Buddhism. I don't know much about other religions, right? But I've experienced Yoruba. And from personal experience of some of these religions, I can tell you the one that I can't see myself being a part of anymore. And shouts out to those that are devout Christians and they live up to some of the standards. Shouts out to you. Good for you for that, right? But like, I can't understand how the Bible would say, don't do pagan practices, don't follow the words of the pagans, but yet Christmas is celebrated, right? Halloween is celebrated, right? The practices that are talked against is celebrated, right? The Bible say a woman are not supposed to be preachers, and women are preachers, right? There's a lot of hypocrisy that's in the Christian religion. And for those reasons, like, there's too much vanity, for one. There's too much vanity. You go to a club, you go to a church, it's no different from going to a club. You go to a club, it's no different from going to a church. It's like you see the same thing. They come with the hair, the long eyelashes, the nails, the short skirt. I just can't, right? But when I observe Judaism, Islam, and I see when on Saturdays, when I see the Jewish community walking, they're going towards the temple to worship or leaving, they are just not practicing the religion in vain. They are living the life of what they were born into, and they live it holistically, right? They live it wholly. WHOLY. Or HOLY. Combine those, you still get holy, right? So, with that being said, I appreciate you. For those of you that are watching, and like I said, I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. That's not what I'm here for. Not to ruffle anyone's feathers, just to speak of my observation, right? So with that being said, thank you for watching. Remember, question everything. Because if you don't, you may fall for anything. Think and say, have a good day.